Just heard a summary of what the prepared remarks of Janet Yellen were, and it were characterized by and large, not entirely, but by and large, as being fairly banal, fairly neutral. You've seen these, I'm sure. Are you getting enough information from your point of view, from oversight, to understand what the Fed is doing?
Well, I think these are typical remarks submitted by a Fed chairman. The real work is done in the committee and questions and answers, as your panel described. I'm very interested to hear from Janet Yellen this relationship between raising short-term rates and shrinking the balance sheet. When she appeared before us before, she said that she would not shrink the balance sheet until she got the short-term rate up a little bit more, I think was the way she testified. She didn't identify how much more, to give herself more optionality in the level of short-term rates. But since then, Governor Powell has outlined how the balance sheet will shrink over time. So I think we ought to have discussion today between rate raising and the Fed's view on that, and how they'll normalize the balance sheet and get it down as a percentage of our GDP.
So is it the appropriate role for you, as you see it, sitting in the House of Representatives, to really pin her down on what the timing will be on the balance sheet? I mean, will you get as specific as when are you going to start it?
Well, we'd like to know really the philosophy behind it. We'd like to know the time frame. Governor Powell outlined a basic time frame. But how is she going to go about it? How did they set the ratio between reductions in the Treasury portfolio and the reductions in the collateralized mortgage obligation? The CMBS type MBS part of the portfolio. So, you know, this is where I'm a big believer that the Fed should be only buying treasuries. So when you allocate assets at the Fed to other asset classes like mortgage-backed securities, you're really doing credit allocation, which is not a neutral territory for the Fed. So I'd like to see the mix, and then I'd like to hear her say, will she limit the Fed in the future to a Treasuries-only policy when it comes to open market operations?
So,